listening to the Betmaker Show. This is the Golf PGA WGC Fedex St Judes preview for July 22nd, 2019. And now, live from Las Vegas, the host of the Betmaker Show, Brian Blessing.
We love talking golf. We love talking to our buddy Cam Stewart, Brian Blessing in Las Vegas, north of the border. Cam resides in the lovely burb of Mississauga, right outside Toronto. We love talking golf, Cam. We especially love, and this is the way we're going to do this now, and we hope you'll be loyal listeners and stay with us. Basically, the past tournament's fresh in our head. We get a first look at the next tournament, and every Monday we're going to have you covered with an advanced look for golf tournaments, and this comes to you the day after the British Open, and it's a lot more fun talking golf, Cammy, the day after cashing a ticket and getting a W. You and I, for so many years, I can't tell you how many times we have the misery on Monday of being a runner-up. Finally was able to land on a guy that kicked the door down, Shane Lowry in the British Open. That was a special weekend for him.
It was, Brian. I got to give you a lot of credit. That was a fantastic pick. You talked about Lowry weeks ago when we were doing, the British Open Championship preview show. You loved Lowry, and you know what? It's interesting to me. They're talking about Graham McDowell. They're talking about all the other Irish players. Shane Lowry has been a top 10 machine. He's a great player. The problem was he couldn't put it together for 4 rounds. This time he put it together. He got the lead, and he looked very comfortable. Made some smart plays. Didn't hit it in the heather in the bunkers. Very smart golf. He knows the golf course, and I'll tell you, you get this guy at 80 to 100 to 1 offshore. What a price for Shane Lowry. Congratulations to you. I was on the second place guy, Fleetwood. Brian made him a bet a long time ago. Thought he could do it, but I'm starting to get real concerns with Tommy Fleetwood. You know, he seems to be knocking on the door, but he can't break it down. He's just one of those guys. He feels like a lot like Matt Kuchar. He makes a lot of money, but when are you going to win the big one, buddy? He's been close, and all these other guys stepped through.
A couple quick things here, a recap of the British Open, then we're going to look ahead to the WGC Fedex St Jude Invitational in Memphis. There were a couple things that happened here. A, the word value is such an overused and stupid word in sports betting. There is no value in ripping up a losing ticket. You still got to get the winner. So the word value to me is so overrated. That being said, I will say, even when you win, you lose. I zigzagged and I zagged myself into less of a profit than it should have been. So I'm not crying over spilt milk. But Cam, on the way into this tournament, and I said this on my radio show in Vegas, I said, this is so wide open, a course that basically no one knew except the 4 Irish guys, that I was going to pick 4 or 5 guys, 80 to 1 or higher, on the front end, and my play was going to be on Friday before moving day, say, here's a guy, he's 3 or 4 or 5 off the pace on moving day. There's the guy I'm going to saddle up with and make my big bet on Friday. So that was the plan. And then on the way in, when I say value's overrated, the thing that was bizarre, it was actually value that got me Lowry, because he really wasn't that much on my radar. But when I saw the numbers, and McIlroy's understandable, but Graham McDowell is sitting at 40 to 1, and Shane Lowry's at 80 to 1, and Lowry has won a WGC event, had been in the top 10 in his last 3 tournaments. I'm like, how is this guy flying under the radar? He's an Irish guy, and he'll get incredible fan support. So actually, the value thing actually got me to Lowry only because he stuck out like a sore thumb. It was a bad number.
You know what it is sometimes in golf, too, like anything, it's a popularity contest. Like Graham McDowell does the fun interviews at the end. People know him. They remember him from winning at Pebble Beach. He won that big tournament. Shane Lowry's just a big Irish bear who kind of he's doing his thing, but he's a great golfer.
Like you.
Yeah, like actually, you. That's what Lisa told me. My girlfriend's watching. She goes, "That's what you'd look like if you were Irish and you drank as much Guinness as you do Molson Canadian."
Wait a minute. You do that.
I do that. Hey, no, Lowry's got a boiler, and he's kind of he's one of those guys, but people don't know how competitive he is, and that's what Graham McDowell's talking about. McDowell is more known, Brian, but Lowry plays on the European tour a lot. He comes over. He's just one of those guys. You're right. Like he's a He's a world-class player. He should have been listed in probably the 40, 45 to 60 range at worst.
And by the way, this was the other thing. And I actually talked, our good friend Jeff Sherman at the Superbook in Vegas is one of the best golf odds makers on the planet, and had him on the radio show Wednesday. And I made this point about Lowry that it stuck out like a sore thumb. The other thing is, I'm just saying he should have been 40-1. So the number was a screwball number. But the crazy thing is, Cam, the kid won. He's one of only 3 amateurs to have ever won a tournament on the European Tour. But the tournament the kid won was the Irish Open. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I mean, history kind of repeats itself. I mean, it was just a bad number. We'll put it to bed there, but that was the crazy thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing, and it's a good observation by you. That's why I took John Rahm. I looked at John Rahm going into the tournament. I got him at 18-1. The books bet him down to 16. I thought it was a very good play.
Won the Scottish Open.
Won the Scottish Open, the Irish Open. You look at his results: first, second, third, and his last 3 tournaments, the guy was on a heater. And I go, this is the perfect type of course for him. And it looked early on in the tournament he could have been there. He fell apart on Sunday. He finished 11th, but still a decent result. If you took him in some matchup bets. But that's the thing, Brian. You have to look at those tournaments, the Irish Open, the Scottish Open, those pre-tournaments before the Open Championship, and grab a couple guys who did decently. And I look at Lowry's odds, and good on you, man, for being sharp and smart for pouncing.
The one other thing, history will not remember this, but when you're sitting there sweating on a guy with a 4-shot lead, and there was no hedge opportunity, because in reality, could someone have shot a big number, posted a score? Sure. But knowing the weather was going to be bad, no one was going to be able to fire a 64. And the guys that would have to take the chance to flag hunt would ultimately, somewhere along the way, make a mistake. So in reality, it was match play from the first tee shot. And no one will ever remember this. But you talk about taking years off your life. Lowry almost hits it OB on his first shot, hits it in a bunker on number 1. Fleetwood stiffs one. He's got a 6-footer for birdie. Lowry's got a 10-footer for par. That could have been a 3-shot swing on the first hole, and I'm telling you, the result would have been different. It was all about the first hole in the final round.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we're going to get into the other tournament, Brian, but I just want your opinion on Tommy Fleetwood. He's one of these guys, when you talk about ball striking, probably, I would say top 3, 4 in the world. He's one of those guys. He's fantastic. Yet, when he is in contention, other than posting a low number and winning, when he's dueling somebody, he doesn't seem to do that well. He hit his shots loose down the stretch there. He was in the hay and the heather the whole damn time. Known for his putting, and sometimes his putting, he's leaving putts short. I don't get it. Tommy Fleetwood's one of these popular picks, and you don't get him at odds that are very good. I like him, and we bet him because he's very, very close. But recently, I've been very disappointed in the results, Brian. I'm waiting for him to break through the door, and I got to be honest with you, until I'm getting him at like 33 or 35 and over, he might not make the list anymore.
Yeah, again, I agree with you. I mean, listen, I think the world is Xander Schauffele, guys like that. But until you actually win it,
yes,
I don't know how you're 20-1. You know what I mean? But the one thing I would say about Fleetwood, why he'll be a danger in the next few years, is he's had 2 learning experiences now playing in the final group of a major. Certainly, he should reap rewards from that. But the one thing he is capable of, Cammy, he is the kind of guy that can be 4 shots off or 5 shots off on a Sunday, like the Charlie Hoffman ATM machine, who goes nuts on Sunday when the pressure's off and makes a lot of money.
Kevin Streelman does that a lot.
Exactly. But I mean, he's the kind of guy, I think a day will come where Fleetwood could shoot a 63, 64 and post a number, and it may be good enough. His day will come, I do believe.
Yeah, I hope so. I've just invested a lot of money in the bank of Fleetwood, and I'm getting no returns, brother. It's very frustrating.
Well, let's try to make some money this week. And what is very intriguing, and you and I were talking before we started, hats off to them. First of all, I'll go back. I did not buy into the FedEx Cup. Okay, what's this manufactured, made-for-TV thing? I was dead wrong. What is it? I don't know. What is it now? About 12 years or so. This thing has turned into a brilliant concept. The playoffs, the way it builds and guys get eliminated down, you thin the herd. It was brilliant. Now, to make it even better, they've revamped the entire schedule, moved the PGA up to the front of the year, and now the playoffs will go in August and don't go against football. Brilliant move. But that makes this week really unique because it always used to be the Canadian Open after the British Open. And guys would travel from the British Open to Toronto, and they'd play there, and it'd be the same 4 or 5 guys every year. So you have to look at guys that played in the British Open, who's done it well before, albeit at the Canadian Open. But this is no ham sandwich. This is a WGC event. No more at Firestone in Akron, a great historic course where Tiger always ruled the roost. By the way, Shane Lowry, biggest win in his life before yesterday, was the WGC event at Firestone. But now this event moves to Memphis. It's the FedEx St Jude Invitational, but this isn't the Robert Garrigus Open. This is the real McCoy with the top 64 players in the world.
You're bringing me back memories. Brian and I would have won about 10 grand on Garrigus. I think he missed 17 putts from under 5 feet that week. That was fun. Thanks, Robert.
Hit it in the water on 16 or 18, and his pants changed color during that tournament.
Here's a tip, Robert. When you got caddy ass, don't wear white on Sundays. How's that work for I'll never forget that phone call you called me. Are you kidding me? Like, really?
We both had
10 grand to nothing. Oh, it's just that guy. He's another guy. But anyway, he's not in the field this week. Thank God.
All right, top 64 in the world. Now, Justin Thomas, this is real. This is how bizarre and quirky this is. Justin Thomas is the defending champion, but for the tournament last year was played in Akron. The guy who actually has won in Memphis and is the defending champion is Dustin Johnson. And oh, by the way, I just, when I saw this, my jaw dropped. I mean, I know the guy wins all the time. Dustin Johnson has 6 WGC events under his belt. Winners.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive, Brian. I got to tell you, though, there's just something off about Dustin Johnson. You saw him even in the Open Championship. He was kind of lingering, but never really was a factor. He is just missing that piece. His putting has been very hot and very cold. And one thing that's eluded him, have you seen his tee shots recently? He used to be a guy just to nut tee shots, 350 yards down the pipe, down the middle, go in with an easy flick wedge, tap in birdie. It's different now. There's something going on with Dustin Johnson, and golf is a streaky sport. And I got to tell you, at a guy at 8-1 in this tournament, that is not enough for me to be backing Dustin Johnson at that price. I'm going to have to put the brakes on there, Brian.
Dustin Johnson's 8-1, and we were talking about Justin Thomas, 18-1. Game started to come back from the wrist injury.
True.
So he is intriguing, and I think he's hungry. Brooks Koepka's 9-1. He's the major machine. Hasn't done much in the WGC events. I hate the price, but I would say this to you, Cam. Rory McIlroy at 10-1. The fact that he barely missed the cut, that was fun to watch on Friday, fighting his way back from the disaster of Thursday. But I think at 10-1, McIlroy should be the favorite here. I think he's going to be hungry. He's got a stone in his shoe, but he didn't have to expend all the mental and physical energy that the other guys did on the week. And I think McIlroy is definitely contending here.
I'm with you, and I'm going to be looking at some matchup bets too. If we have McIlroy at 10-1, a guy that really all the golf that he's played is starting to catch up with him. He's not the same player. Even Brooks Koepka, I know he's Mr. Major, but you could see it, Brian, time and time again. We thought this guy was a robot, and instead of blood, he ran with Valvoline and oil. But it's changing, man. Like you see it. Like even he has said, "I'm beat down. I'm tired." He puts a lot of energy into majors, and at 9-1 in the second choice on the board, I got to believe that a guy like Rory McIlroy in a matchup bet against him might be a slight dog or even money, and that's something I think we definitely have to look at. Koepka and DJ, I'm with you. I think Rory McIlroy at the price, it's a little bit better, and I like him better than both of those guys this week.
Let's make some money tonight.
For outstanding information and special offerings and promotions, we invite you and encourage you to sign up for our newsletter today simply by going to the website at betmaker.com. And then a lot of guys cut from the same cloth. We already had the same kind of conversation. Schauffele's at 20-1, Cantley 22-1, Fleetwood at 22-1. These are guys that people think of majors in their very near future, and they contend. The guy no one talks about ever, and he was just recently number 1 in the world. Justin Rose flies under the radar so much. It's unbelievable.
It's also unbelievable the way he gets around a golf course and you see the results going, wow, you hit it 2 fairways over. The thing is with Justin Rose is even when he's bringing his C and D game, he's in contention, Brian. That short game has improved. His putting has gone from a detriment to his game to one of his strengths. I've never seen him hit more 15-foot putts for par to save pars and save rounds. He's been fantastic. Yes, Justin Rose, if he gets that ball striking going again with his improved putting, he'll be unstoppable. 22-1's a good price, but we can't bet everybody, buddy. We got to lower the field. I know you got a few more feathers in your cap after the Lowry win, so you could sprinkle around, but it's tough. There's a lot of guys in the 20 to 33 range that look very dangerous this week.
I got some bombers, but before we do that, how's this for a great idea, bud? This would be right in our wheelhouse. They just did the Tiger and Phil thing in Vegas, right? Well, what'd the winner get there? $9 million, was it?
Yes. Yeah.
How about a head-to-head match? Talk about a pay-per-view event. Jordan Spieth's on the board here at 30-1. Jordan Spieth versus Tyrrell Hatton for $10 million. and give each of them a gun with only one bullet in there and have them playing Russian roulette as they're going around.
No, you're right. Like when you want to talk about powder kegs and explosion, who talks to themselves? No. Like I even think Tyrrell Hatton is more of a psychopath than Jordan Spieth. Tyrrell Hatton, I think actually is going to hurt somebody one day. Like if a fan says something to him, remember in the tournament, the fan said something to Paul Casey and the guys are, hello. Oh, the odds at Ladbrokes are minus 300 on Paul Casey beating this guy up. Like some fan looked and Casey wanted to burn a hole through him. If that happened to Tyrrell Hatton, he'd be hitting him over the head with an iron. I'll tell you something. You're absolutely right. Spieth's talking a lot. Hatton's crazy. But, yeah, I'd watch that. And it'd have to be uncensored, too, Brian. You're right. Golf clubs, weapons, uncensored, I'm in.
Maybe it's this week, Cam, and this may be going off the board a little bit. But I think you got to read between the lines, try to read the tea leaves. And Jason Day is 30-1. And here's the angle. We know he's one of the best putters on the planet. He's got a terrific short game. It's a sense of belief, but I think there was a little bit of a transition period. And I think the fact that, what's his name? Stevie Williams? Stevie Williams is his caddy now.
Yep.
This would be about the 4th tournament. They started at the U.S. Open, if memory serves. I think this may start to click. And I think Jason Day at 30-1 is a guy I will definitely play this week.
Yeah, and this is what we have to look for. Great players that aren't playing exactly peak golf, but you're getting incredible lines on them. Like Jason Day in this tournament should be probably around the 22 to 25 range. 30's nice. It's a little bit of a bonus. He's getting closer every week. You said it, Brian. His putting's fantastic. He's been a little bit loose off the tee. And, once he gets that figured out, he'll be unstoppable because when that putter is rolling, he's one of the best in the world. I like him at 30-1. And other guys that I'm kind of looking at, I don't know. I was going to ask your opinion. Like, what do you think of a guy like, I know he won't be popular, but Andrew Putnam is really starting to become a good golfer. Like he's a guy that I got to bet, 55, 60-1. It's something he played really well in the Open Championship. It might be bad timing because of the travel from Ireland to the United States and Memphis. And, but I'm saying Andrew Putnam's a guy we got to watch out for in the future.
I agree with you. Absolutely. And the bottom line is the one thing that's different with golf, Cam, in reality, and this is a sport where there are so many great young stars and the game is in a great place. But you know what? It's just like hockey. I love when people say, oh, hockey's hockey. The game doesn't change. The game changes. The game has always changed based on the time of year. You get to January, the games become more defensive in nature, and then they become more physical. And people say, oh, hockey's hockey. No, it's not. The game changes. Golf, nothing will change. All these great young players. For golf, your prime is in your early 30s because physically you're still great, but you've got all those years of experience. So a guy like Putnam, who's maybe middle tier now, talk to me in 5 years. They can be late bloomers.
Oh, no, I agree. I find this tournament pretty tough this week, Brian. Like, what a field. Like, I'm looking at, guys who played well in the Open Championship, like Finau, Kuchar, Reed. Like, I'm just looking up and down the list. Like, it's a who's who of golf. I know the WGC event, it brings out the best, and it's a tough one. Like, that's the thing. We're getting very, very good players, like guys that you'd look at every week in the 50, 60-1 range and above, which is really, really nice.
I got a bomber for you, buddy. I got a bomb.
Well, after Shane Lowry, Brian, my Whisper 2000's in. I'm listening.
Kevin Kisner.
I like Kisner a lot.
Won a WGC event this year. He won the match play. Kevin Kisner played very well at the British Open, but he is steely-eyed. And do you remember a guy? You know, guys get a hot week, but this guy does it all the time. From like 40 feet, this guy scares the hole every time.
No, and Kevin Kisner, people don't understand about Kevin Kisner. He's got that kind of like Joe Chill. You look at him, you know, chewing tobacco type of guy, like very interesting dude. But he's a killer. That's what people don't know. You talked about it, Brian. Match play, Kisner, boom. He'll go up against somebody and you'll think, oh my God, Kisner, he's got no chance. No, you got no chance. Kisner's going to kill you. He's going to beat you down, and he's just very consistently solid. You're getting him at 66-1. You said it. I had a top 25 play in the Open Championship on Kisner. He's done well there before. He's the type of guy not to get tired. I like him at 66-1, Brian. I think that's a great pick at that price.
Let me, real quick, as a podcast we can do. It's funny. I talk like a trucker or a sailor, you know, but if I'm within 50 yards of a mic, darn is like the worst thing I'll ever say. It's just ingrained in me, but it was hilarious. It was, I think it was Friday, and these golfers know there are microphones around. You know, for the most part, they kind of behave themselves. But Kisner's on 18, and he was using a caddy from over there. So I don't think it was his regular caddy. And they're standing, and it might as well have been, Jim Nantz saying it. But they're standing there, and they're on 18, and he looks at the caddy. He goes, "I'm going to hit a fucking low bullet, right?" Right. And I'm going, I love this guy. He was so intense because he was on the cut line. Right? I mean, it was a big shot, and to try to make the cut. This guy, he's a badass, man. I think 70-1. I'm going to take a flyer with Kisner too.
Yeah, I like Kisner, and if we're looking like up and down the board too, a couple guys that I think he's the best in that range. Matt Wallace, he's been playing a lot of golf. That Open Championship, a little bit disappointing.
He's burning my money, buddy.
That's the thing.
If you got Fleetwood burning your money, yeah. Matt Wallace has been burning mine.
Hey, and the thing about Matt Wallace too, Brian, I know you hate the V word value, but I used to get this guy at 150-1. Now I see 66 pass. Like, you know what I mean? There's too many good golfers in this tournament. Hell, he could do okay, but at that price, I'm not going to take him. But I am looking at another guy in the 90-1 range. He's already won this year. Matthew Wolf. Oh,
didn't have to travel.
No, the Wolfman is good. He's a good young player. I really like Colin Morikawa just as much, if not more than Wolf. I think eventually he will be the best young golfer. I think he's steady, but Wolf, he won. He chipped in for eagle in the final hole of the tournament to get a win. Oklahoma State guy. Hell, he's doing better than Ricky Fowler, who's gone to Oklahoma State. And this guy who's just joined on the tour. 90-1 for Matthew Wolf. And I think he'll want to do well in front of the best in the world. That price is really nice. Give me the Wolfman.
All right. Real quick, Finau 35, 40-1 on Webb Simpson. I think Webb Simpson's got game. He's so underrated. Like, I look at him a lot like Kisner. Like, they're guys that deserve better, and odds makers don't really like them as much as other guys, and that's fine with me. But let me tell you something. Now, the British Open's a different animal with those conditions. But ball strike, Webb Simpson's putter's lethal now. And ball striking, he is phenomenal. So Simpson, I will just, I know we're throwing a lot out there, but I will say this. Talk about a bad number. How's this Justin Harding kid 150-1? He played great at the Open.
Yeah, if you guys want to take a bomb on this one, I think Brian's all over it. Justin Harding has been good on the European Tour, very underrated player, 150-1, maybe a top 10 or a top 20 bet. You'll still get incredible plus money. Out of the other guys, Brian, I think that's as far as we can go, though. Some of the other guys, I'm like, nah, not 250-1 with Connors or 175 with Lashley. Keith Mitchell going to pass. But Harding is so much better than them, and he's in the same price range at 150. Very, very good player if you're looking for a big pooch.
All right, so my top four would be McIlroy, Jason Day, Kisner for sure. I'm with you on Matt Wolf a little bit, but I got a sprinkle on the Justin Harding kid. But the one guy, Cam, is this amazing that we haven't even talked about yet? And if this guy's got any Eddie Pepperell DNA in his system, Shane Lowry, 60 to 1.
Yeah, that's the thing about golf that people like. It's one of those things. It's like, how can this guy win after he wins the Open Championship? Well, I've seen a lot of guys. They get on. Like, look at Chez Reavie, man. Like he got really hot for a while. Like
golf, Cam. Golf is listen.
Yep.
Other than the top 5 guys in the world who are just amazing, golf. 90% of these guys have a 3 to 5 week form cycle. When you're on, you're on. Now, he's playing with house money. He's probably hungover. He's probably missing the cut. I think there's no middle ground. He either misses the cut or contends. There's no middle ground here.
And what do you think about? What do you think about Danny Willett? He's slowly finding his game from the Masters to Brian. Week after week, Danny Willett went from I won the Masters to I can't play golf anymore to starting to figure it out, and he's getting more dangerous by the week at 66 to 1. I'm not sure if this is the week, but guys that I'm looking at too. I got to believe Justin Thomas at 18 to 1. I think that is a very nice price for a world-class player, and you're getting a better line than a lot of guys there. I agree with you. I think Jason Day at 30 to 1 is worth a pick. I'm with you on Kisner at 66 to 1 and the Wolfman at 90. Those are going to be bets that I'm going to be placing on this tournament for sure.
All right. It's good. I love the WGC events. By the way, we'll wrap it up with this. If we give him credit for the FedEx Cup and how that has become a thing now, and it's a fun thing, and it's a really good thing when you like Billy Horschel, right? Where'd Billy Horschel come from? All of a sudden, this guy gets hot at the end, and you can make some dough. But I will say this concept, the WGC tournaments, what is it, 4 a year?
Mm-hmm.
Just flat out money. And, the other aspect we get of this, Cam, there is no cut. You're never out of this.
Yeah, excellent point, though. But I think the best point you made up with the whole show is, God, I love what golf has done with the majors and every month. It's been great. We've usually had, majors and crappy tournaments, and it was very convoluted. I think they've really figured it out, and they've made some really good decisions. And I think the popularity is going to grow, and more bettors are going to be playing the sport because, during the dog days of summer, it was really nice to have the Open Championship this week.
Real quick, Cam, you got him in front of you. I messed up here. Furyk's not in this, is he?
I can't see Jim Furyk. No, he is not.
Okay, so he's not top tier.
Jimmy needs a week off there, Brian. I got to be honest with you. Like,
you know why I say it? No, but you know why I say it?
Yep. Actually, he is. Sorry, Jim Furyk is in. I apologize. He is 110 to 1, around the same number as Thorbjorn Olesen and Cameron Smith. Those guys are 100. Jim Furyk 110.
All right, but maybe watch this kiddo put $2. I don't. No, you know what? I mean, seriously, go back to what we said at the very beginning, and we'll wrap it up right now. But in the past, they played the British Open, and they'd always go up to your backyard. They play Glen Abbey or one of the great courses in Toronto. And every year, who were the guys? You had Dustin Johnson, Bubba Watson,
Snedeker, and Jim Furyk.
And
more Furyk than anybody.
Jim Furyk, right, at the Canadian Open. Now, could be a function of he loved those courses, but there's an actual real possibility it's one of these things that he's just a salty veteran, and for whatever reason, the week after the British Open, and maybe it's a different brand of golf, but all of a sudden Furyk come back to the continent, and he always played well in the Canadian Open. On that premise alone, Furyk may not be insane this week.
No, you're absolutely right. And what do you think about Snedeker too? Hometown guy, Brian, 75 to 1. He's just one of those guys. His game is not like in peak form right now, but another guy that's played well in this slot in history for sure. 75 to 1, though. I think we need a little bit more. I think Furyk is a better price, 110. And you're right. That might be a sneaky play, Brian, for a top 5 and 10. Old man Furyk. He delivers.
You're the man. You always deliver. He's our buddy Cam Stewart. This is what we're going to do for you on Mondays. Well, quick recap of the past event, but look ahead and try to make money. And I love it, Cam, the fact that we can do this while the previous tournament is fresh in your head, because I think it does point you in the right direction to the upcoming week.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And reacting after the Open Championship, it's going to be tough. On matchup bets, I think, is a good way to attack this tournament, Brian. Which players got beat down by the elements in Ireland, which players have played too much, who are kind of going to go, oh man, I got to play this week and check out when they have very little gas in the tank, and who are going to be inspired after, kind of a bad performance, the Rory McIlroys of the world, to actually, play some really good golf this week.
I lied. I said that we'd wrap it up on this, but I would just say the problem is doing it. Not the problem. I like that we do this, and you can take this information, squirrel it away, and apply it when the matchups actually come out. They come out very late in the week. Mm-hmm. But I will just say this. There's the tournament within the tournament. Had good fortune with Lowry. Played Fowler. Fowler, Webb Simpson, and Finau as kind of my hedge on Friday night. But inside the tournament, Cam, I had played 4 matchups, won 3-1. But yesterday, I had Finau against John Rahm, and there was no better feeling than watching John Rahm implode on the first hole and get a 4-shot lead out of the gate in a matchup plus $1.40. So the matchups are fun too.
I'll tell you another thing, and one thing I did well in the tournament, I got John Rahm at $135 over Tiger Woods. I should have called my bank and mortgage and put everything I owned on it, because that was a gift. And I only put $100 on it, Brian, but I'll tell you something. If I ever see a situation like that again, I'm going to smash it. That line was crazy. Like, so many people had love for Tiger Woods going into this event. I know one thing about this tournament, and let's remember this future when you're taking this guy. If it's cold, rainy, he's not a young man anymore. These are times to fade him. He will win in the heat. He cannot withstand tough elements that they have in Europe. It's something to figure out in a matchup bet, and don't bet on this guy. He'll break your heart and your wallet.
Apologies to our good friends Mike and Dave back in the studio, because I keep threatening to wrap this up.
Hey, getting a little extra time. Value, Brian. Value.
This is the beauty of the podcast format. We can do whatever we want. I promise. This is the last thing. Let me just, Saturday night, got together with a bunch of people, and we're watching the Pacquiao fight. And a buddy of mine turns and says, "Are you kidding me?" He says, and I'll ask you the same question. He says, the head-to-head matchup in the final round. He said, what would you make the number Brooks Koepka versus Dustin Johnson? Now, I gave him a number. Now, I'm just asking you, I know we know what we know now. But if I had said to you Saturday night, what would you make Brooks Koepka in the final round of the British Open against Dustin Johnson in a head-to-head matchup? What do you think the number should have been?
$160?
Thank you. They said they thought $140. I said
$160, $170 almost.
You know what I said? $1.80.
Yeah. Wow. I'm with you.
I said there is no way. Right now, you know what it was? Minus a dime either way.
That's insanity. Yeah, I know. When you see things like that, you got to jump on them. I'm telling you, and, we'll be on top of it, my friend. Hopefully, we can hit another winner this week. I just got to give you a lot of credit. That Shane Lowry pick was great. It's funny every time we win the big one. Like, I had Dylan Fratelli of all people, and I got to put him like $5 at $75. Yeah, watch out, guys, for Dylan Fratelli too. He's figured it out. He used to be on the European tour. Very scary and playing with confidence.
Buddy, this was great fun. We hope you guys enjoyed it. We're going to do this every Monday for you, talking golf right here. Cam Stewart, Brian Blessing, tee it up, and cash some tickets.
Betmaker, let's make some money tonight.
Well, that's the Betmaker Show for now. We publish multiple times each week. We'd like to thank you for listening, and if you liked what you heard, please take a moment to leave a rating and review, or subscribe to our show feed, or share our show with a friend or two and help us grow the show. We very much appreciate it. Visit us on the web at betmaker.com. And reminder to sign up for the newsletter. Thanks to our engineer, Darren Vandermolen, and producer, Mike Gallivan. The Betmaker Show is a production of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated. Betmaker is a registered trademark. Any rebroadcast, reproduction, or other use of this content without the express written consent of Cardinal Marketing Incorporated is strictly prohibited.
The handicapping and sports odds information contained on this podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Please confirm the wagering regulations in your jurisdiction, as they vary from state to state, province to province, and country to country. Using this information to contravene any law or statute is prohibited. The podcast is not associated with, nor is it endorsed by any professional or collegiate league, association, or team. This podcast does not target and is not intended for an audience under the age of 18. If you think that you have a gambling addiction, stop this podcast now and please seek help.
Gambling and betting on sports is a form of entertainment and should be about having a good time. But when done excessively, it may negatively affect other areas of a person's life, such as their physical and mental health, school or work performance, finances, and/or interpersonal relationships. At Betmaker.com and The Betmaker Show, we're concerned about the addiction that gambling may cause, and for this reason, we encourage everyone to practice responsible gambling, an approach to gambling that helps you ensure that it remains an enjoyable activity. Here are the main principles of responsible gambling. Don't think of gambling as a way to make money. Always gamble with money that you can afford to lose. Set limits and stick to them. Never chase losses. Don't gamble when you're depressed or upset, and create a healthy balance. Always be aware of how much time you spend gambling or thinking about gambling. And do not allow gambling to cause you to miss out on time with family and friends or time spent on other activities you enjoy. By following these guidelines, gambling can be a good time and great entertainment. If you feel at any time that your gambling is taking away from important areas of your life, is causing you stress or depression, or is leading to financial losses that are beyond your control, please reach out for help. Learn more at responsiblegambling.org.